All right, you always ask me how is my life as a digital nomad? What am I doing? I realize social media, like people want to know a lot, you know. So I decided instead of answering the questions all the time in my DMs, let me just start posting more. So I landed in Rio. I've lived in South America for almost a year. So this is just going to have me break down some of my process that to me may seem a little bit more straightforward. To some people, they always have questions about like adaptability. How do you adapt when you get to a new place? Now, it's a funny question because like your adaptability kind of depends on the chemistry between you and the place. I done went to a place before and it took me maybe 3 weeks, 2 weeks to like adapt. I done went to a place and it took me only like 2, 3 days to adapt, right? And what I mean by adapt, I don't mean like, oh, I know the whole culture and everything like that. I'm not saying like I know everything. Since you got a degree and you know everything, I'm not talking about that. But what I'm talking about is just the feeling of having a little bit of comfort and being able to vibe out. I mean, really, it's like a date. Being a digital nomad, bouncing around in different countries, it's like you're dating different countries to figure out, or even different cities, right? Because sometimes you can do this even in the US to figure out who do I like? You know what I'm saying? And oh, this girl, she makes me feel this way. Okay, you know, it's a little bit easy when I'm around her. You know, we joking, laughing and stuff. And like Shorty over here is a drill sergeant, and you know, I'm like looking at the corner of my eye every 3 seconds. You know, so you really just feel things out, and that's what I mean more so by adapt. It's kind of like where is this on your chemistry meter, right? And just because it may take a little bit longer doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bad thing. It just means that it's a different thing. You feel me? So I'm in Rio. This is like my third time in Rio. So obviously I have a little bit more of a comfortability and the chemistry is great because I keep coming back, right? So even funny when I was like coming down here, I was like seeing like Lagoa and stuff and I'm like, man, you know what? I like this. And I'm gonna have a whole separate video about the feelings of going, of returning back to a place and when is it worth it and when will it probably not be. So what I wanted to do is pretty much walk y'all through what I do when I land into a place. Now, a lot of people always ask me this question. Oh, where do you live? How do you choose where to live, man? I choose based on availability, what's accessible to me. If I was staying in a place for maybe like a year, then I would be talking to realtors. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the type of approach that you got to take. But if you're staying in a place for a month or 2 months, you know, to be honest with you, let me speak some hard truths real quick. To be honest with you, you're gonna have to pay a little bit of a higher premium. I'm not saying to get played. I'm not saying to go and, you know what I'm saying, like give them whatever they want. Don't do that. This ain't Tony. You can't have whatever you want. It ain't Burger King. It ain't your way. But the cool thing is when you have these short leasing programs or platforms like Airbnb, Verbo, you know, even going on booking.com and stuff when it comes down to it, you have all these places that you can go and stay for 2 weeks at a time. Sometimes I remember in one place, I think Mexico City, I stayed in 3 different neighborhoods. So each place I stayed 2 weeks at a time. I recommend that for certain places when it's like you want to experience maybe a more local vibe compared to a more touristy vibe, you know, things like that. So, and then there's other places where it's like, you know what, this is the area I want to stay in. I'm staying in this area. So that also kind of gives you a little bit more of the flexibility to have movement. What I also do like about some of these platforms like Airbnb, you know, you can really kind of just shop around and, you know, you really have full control. You can talk to the host and everything like that. So some of the things that I look for in the Airbnb, which, you know, I'll kind of talk about it as I'm doing a walkthrough of mine, is, you know, I'm looking for how comfortable can I be? You know, is there like a TV is, and it's like a weighted scale, right? A TV isn't necessarily mandatory for Airbnb for me. But it damn sure it does make me kind of take a second look, like, oh, okay, like, is it a nice TV? Because sometimes you want to just come back, chill, relax, you know? Another thing is, you know, is there a dinner table? Is there a place for me that I can, like, sit here and, like, edit my videos and stuff like that? I think about that a lot. I think about having a washer. Now, that doesn't sound, some people be like, oh, you can go ahead and take your stuff to the local washer and all of that and have people wash your clothes. Yes and no, because some stuff I'm like, hey, it's an expensive shirt. I ain't trying to just leave that to chance, right? But another way to think about it is if you're working out, people that work out know. If you're working out, bro, it takes so much clothes. And you don't really have the luxury of having like all your clothes with you. So you're constantly sometimes washing clothes, you know? So I'm looking for a washer. You know, a lot of places will not have a dryer. So is it a place for me to at least hang my clothes? If there isn't a dryer, like how much space do I have to do that? And then I'm looking for like a nice bathroom. Like a bathroom, man, sometimes when your boy want to go, you you know what I'm saying? And I need a place where I can feel comfortable, chill. I want to be able to take a shower. That should be my decompress zone. Now, some things that I can't control because you can't really tell, the bed.
Yeah. Who got that good D? I got that good D. Yeah.
No, it's too hard.
When I get an Airbnb and the bedding is nice and the bed is comfortable, it's like, okay, bet, like I booked them again, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you'll come to a place and then the bed isn't really like, it's just stiff, you know? This place, the bed is definitely stiff. And then I also look at, I look at the cooking ware, right? So some places I'm gonna be eating out almost every day, but let's be real, like financially and time is not necessarily the smartest thing. So I will also look to see if they have cookware, because if the cookware is nasty and I can't even cook eggs, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way for you to prepare for that, right? So when you get there, sometimes you can like talk to them about it and be like, hey, like, what's up with this? And then, so I had hosts replace it for me one time, and then I've had it to where I just have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So, look, I did enough talking. It's been a while. Let's go ahead and do a quick walkthrough of this Airbnb. I like this little lock. I ain't gonna lie. I like that they got a little door ring on there. The security nice, you know what I'm saying? This also, having a code is good, because sometimes you don't want to carry a key with you. If I'm going to the beach, that's just one thing I don't have to worry about. So the fact that I can just put in a code, I really like that, and like self-check-in. So this, you have a big refrigerator. Again, I'm walking y'all through a unique perspective because a lot of people don't understand some of the nuances, and it's like, well, a big refrigerator, of course, duh. Like, thankfully it's not a white refrigerator, but nah, bro. But like with this, a lot of places, sometimes you have like a studio or a smaller apartment, they'll give you like a little mini fridge, you know what I'm saying? I even have people sometimes give like a hot plate instead of a stove, and then we'll say on Airbnb that they have a stove. So, I brought some snacks from home, I got some peach cobbler, you know what I'm saying? Gotta have that, you feel me? Shout out to the Airbnbs that bring water. They love you, they care about you. So you have a gas stove. So look, this is another thing I check for. I'm just walking up through my checklist. So do I have cookware, a knife? Sometimes the knives are not sharp as you think, but I got some good cookware. I got some good cutlery. Okay, you got a spatula, grater, tongs or whatever. Okay, a little wine stopper. All right, that's decent. That's decent. A lot of times they're gonna do the bare minimum, bro. So you really can't expect too much. But this is in cookware. This is literally the basics. This is literally the basics that I'm looking for. Like, do you have a pan? This one is scratched up. That is a little bit of an issue for me, because I don't want to have PFAS and all of that shit in my food. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about this one if I want to like raise it as an issue or whatnot. Usually the pots are pretty cool, but people just don't take care of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So all of them kind of got scratches, but it's kind of like you pick your poison. You got like a little bit of a bigger pot, but like overall, I would say I have enough to do a little damage. It would have been cool to have like a bigger pan. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. You notice too, it's like, no stove, right? A lot of places might not even have a stove. So you got to be real mindful of that. Toaster, I'm not gonna lie, I've never really used a toaster. I don't drink coffee. This is interesting because usually, I will say, you don't really get air fryers, so that's pretty cool. This is a pretty common blender, very cheap blender to have in Brazil, but decent. So now I'm looking at like, where's my bowls looking like? So this is something else that I realize a lot of people don't pay attention to. And it's like, after you cook your food, a lot of times these short-term leases will not have things for you to put your food in and like leave it. So when you think about like how you live your daily life, you're trying to translate that and you're trying to move your daily life along. I've had to just go buy my own sometimes, and there's been a very like small amount of times where I've had to like hit the Airbnb and be like, hey, if I'm staying here for 1 to 2 months, like, come on, fam, like, you got to give me more than what you give somebody for that's staying there for like 3 days. So I might need like a cutting board or a mixing bowl, or maybe just something like put my food in after I cook it. But depending on the place, sometimes I'll just go buy it. But I usually try to talk to the Airbnb host about it first. Okay, let's see what we got in here. So we got some decent glasses, wine glasses, cups for tea and stuff like that. It's pretty decent. Okay, so look, this is what I mean. Like, if I cook something, maybe I can put my meat in there. Maybe I can put a little bit of my grain in there or something. It's not a lot, but it's still something. And I think like that's the thing that you have to realize is it's not going to be a perfect, but as long as it's something. You got your washer, and I believe this also acts as a dryer as well. But wouldn't be surprised. And I don't know what all this is. It's looking kind of crazy, but you know. So yeah. Another thing to note sometimes is cleaning supplies. Like you don't want to have to go buy cleaning supplies. So, but usually they have something for you, like a sponge and some dishwashing soap. So let's keep going. Let's keep looking at the whole place. All right. So dope. All right. So you got a little common area, you know, pretty decent. You already seen that. But this is like the TV. Oh yeah, AC. When it's hot, a lot of places sometimes will trick you and they don't have an AC. They'll have like a fan. Depending on the place, I might trip on that. All right, so this is the boom room. So here, again, super basic. You get a bed. Now that bed, I ain't gonna hold you. That bed is not soft, boy. I'm talking about, I can do push-ups on this thing. So you get like, you know, a little bit of a desk area over here, which is cool. A little mirror thing, you feel me? Go ahead. So closet space is something that I don't really care too much about because sometimes I don't even unpack my clothes like that. But, you know, they got some hangers, closets, stuff for you to put your stuff, which you want to be able to have walking space around. And then you got the bathroom. I'd be scared to show the toilet, like, oh God. But yeah, toilet, a little bit of that booty spray. A little bit of that booty spray. All right. I love the bidets. We be walking around. I noticed that in America, we be walking around with stink, but all right, hold on, let me go back to the tour. All right, so this is the second room. So this one I do have a 2-bedroom on this spot. All right, so you see that, you know, pretty decent. Again, decent little space to have or whatever. You put your clothes. You don't really need too much. And then also have a second bathroom. And this Airbnb house is pretty on point. Like, you know, this is a pretty good, decent Airbnb host. She got some toiletry stuff. Now you can see this one. This is one thing I will say. So this one has a bigger shower. And I do like that. So I might be using this shower because, again, I'm telling you, some of these Airbnbs, they get tricky. Like, they'll get like the bathroom look big and then you load up and you be like, damn, bro, it's a small ass bathroom. And then for me, I like Airbnb hosts. I probably should have talked way closer. But I like Airbnb hosts that like kind of show that they care. You know, I've had Airbnb hosts sometimes be like, hey, we got a bike you can use. This is really, really cool. I like stuff like this from Airbnb hosts. When they give you like little cool booklets and guides and stuff like that, that's always a plus. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I just wanted to give y'all a quick rundown of the things that I look for. So just give like a quick just summary, right? And I'll also kind of, you know, show you how I'll do another video, maybe a part 2 to this one, or maybe I'll add it on to this one, where I just kind of show you like what some of the things that I do like on my first day. You know, on my first day when I get to a place, these are the things that I do is mandatory, you know, and I'll kind of walk you through that. But for this video right now, or at least for this section, let's summarize. The first thing you got to do is look for an Airbnb that fits you and your needs. Airbnb, Vrbo, whatever the booking platform is, it needs to fit you and your needs, right? So you need to list out what are things that are important to you. It's almost like a must-have list and a nice-to-have list. So I'll give you an example. Must-have a washer. I'm just not going without a washer. Nice-to-have a TV. I ain't gonna lie to you. Usually, at first, before I lived in Africa, having a TV was a must. Once I went to Africa and I realized that TVs was for decoration for the most part, I was like, all right, bet. Like, you know, I just kind of started watching stuff on my iPad. I just got used to it. So you have to figure that out. Once you figure that out and you narrow down your search, because again, these are just like how you make decisions, right? You have to also realize like not everything is in your control. So whether you have a big pan or you only have a small pan, that's not in your control. So you have to think about stuff like that. And think about like how much of an impact that is. And then what are you willing to do? Is the Airbnb worth it because of the location? Or is that something that, you know, you need to just go buy yourself, or could you rent it by the host first? So you can kind of tell, you know. Another thing I look for too is like reputable hosts. Like sometimes when they don't have that many reviews, you might be able to get like a discount, but sometimes you end up dealing with somebody that's like such a headache, and you got to think about it. It's like they're your landlord. So you don't really want to deal with somebody that's like a super headache. All right, next. A big refrigerator, to me, if I'm there for a long time, I plan on cooking, it's a must have, you know. Washer, must have. A place for me to like sit and do my edits so I can show y'all these YouTube videos, must have. So those are just some of the things. And then, you know, just, yeah, those are some of the things. So I won't beg y'all, I won't be overstaying this topic or whatever like that, but so yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Again, I'm going to be showing y'all a lot more of the daily life, just to kind of give y'all a little bit more of a perspective on it, because it's not always glitz and glam, you know, but it is a lot of fun, and I always say it is worth it. So like and subscribe, comment what you think and what your must-haves are.